Good morning. Welcome to the fairy tale unit. This is the 12 Dancing Princesses. Just as a reminder, what you're going to do is you are going to look at the following things. What are the things this fairy tale could be trying to tell you about the society it's written for? How does it react to the supernatural and why? How does it treat men? How does it treat women? How is it different depending on where it's written and the same? And how are the movie clips, poems, and articles related to the story? 12 Dancing Princesses is also a short one. The video for that is number 19 in the playlist, which is from Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses. You're welcome. Alright, 12 Dancing Princesses. Once upon a time, there was a king. He has 12 daughters, hence the title. And he notices something mysterious. Their shoes are always worn out in the morning, and he's like, this is ridiculous. So he decides he's going to move all his daughters to one big room and lock them in there so they can't escape and go dancing all night. Although where they're dancing, he has no idea. So they're all in one room, but their shoes are still getting danced all the way through, like danced to ribbons. Like there's nothing left. They dance that hard. And he's like, this is ridiculous. This is super expensive too. I can't keep paying for this. Got to figure it out. So he puts forth the challenge. Whoever figures out where the princesses go gets to marry the daughter of the princess of his choice and gets to be the next king. And all these princes are like, done. Excellent. Awesome. And so he sets up a little room next to the princess's room so whoever's there can see, with strict orders that if he gets handsy, the princesses can stab him. So the guy is in there, and the oldest princess is like, would you like some wine for sleep? And it actually puts him asleep because the princesses have drugged him and he's just conked out. And he wakes up in the morning and the princess's shoes are still danced through. In some stories he's killed, in other stories he just leaves in disgrace. He gets 3 chances, blows all 3 chances. He's out. This goes on for a long time. Meanwhile, a soldier is returning home from the war. This king had just finished fighting a war, but he was distracted with the shoe thing. Fairy tales are weird. So the soldier's on his way home, and he sees this old lady, and she's like, I'm really hungry. Do you have anything to spare? And he's like, yeah, here, I've got some bread and some cheese. It's not much, but we can share. She's like, that's really wonderful of you to share with an old lady. Let me give you some advice. Don't drink anything the princesses give you. And also, here's a magic invisibility cloak. And he's like, what? First of all, how did you... What? And she's like, oh, come on. You were thinking about it. And he's like, I kind of maybe had the idea that I could break the spell and figure out where the princesses were going, but I wasn't going to do it. And she's like, yeah, well, now you can. And so he takes the invisibility cloak, which looks like just a raggedy shawl, and it actually is an invisibility cloak. So he goes to the castle, and he's like, I'd like to try to figure out where the princesses go. And everyone laughs at him. The nobles all laugh at him, and the king is like, no. We let the princess try. Let's let the soldier try too. And the soldier's like, well, thank you. So the first night, he pretends to drink the wine the princesses give him. Doesn't. And he discovers that what they're doing is they have a magic hole in the middle of their room. And they all put their hands on it at a certain time of night. And it rises up and turns into stairs. And they can all go down the stairs. And so he decides to put on his invisibility cloak and follow them. As he's going down the stairs, he's kind of a klutz. He steps on the youngest princess's gown, and she's like, something stepped on me. I think we're being followed. And the oldest princess is like, no, you caught it on a nail. Come on. And so they go, and then they go through a forest of golden trees and a forest of silver trees, and then they find a lake. And on the lake, there are 12 boats, each boat with a prince, and each princess gets in a boat, and the soldier gets in the final boat. And then they sail across, and the prince who's got the youngest princess is like, weird. And she's like, I know, isn't it just the weirdest night? Because I feel like someone's been following me all day. So they get across, and that's where the princesses go to dance. And it's a lovely party, and there's balls, and there's dancing, and it's just great fun. So the soldier's like, cool. So then, on the way back... So he follows the princesses back, and as they're going through the golden wood, he clips off a branch. And the youngest princess is like, jeez, this day. And the others are like, you stepped on a branch. Just come on, we gotta go. We're in a hurry. So that's where they go the first night. So he's like, the king asks, you know where they go? And he's like, well, I'm building my case. And the king's like, okay. So the second night, same thing happens. Except this time, he gets in the boat of the second youngest princess, who also is kind of freaked out. And then he gets a branch from the silver tree. Third night. This time he decides to be real sneaky, and he steals a goblet from the dance party. And he's like, got it. But this time he's so caught up in watching the dancing that he almost gets left behind. And he almost lets the princesses beat him to his room, because every time they get back, they check on him. And so he always has to run ahead and beat them. And this time he actually pushes the oldest princess, and she's like, wait a minute. Something fishy's happening here. Because the oldest princess is actually the smartest of the bunch. They're all pretty intelligent, but she's the smartest. So it's time for the king to give him his final chance to reveal what he knows. And he's like, do you know where my daughters go? And he's like, yes, they go to an underground kingdom and dance. And everyone's like, well, that's the stupidest thing we've ever heard. He's like, yeah. Well, here's the gold branch. He tells a story, and as he tells it, he brings out the gold branch, the silver branch, and the gold cup. And the king's like, cool. Well, look, you go. And then they're like, well, how did you figure it out? And he's like, invisibility cloak. And they're like, all right, which princess do you want to marry? And he looks at the princesses, and he's like, well, I think maybe the oldest, because I'm no longer young, if it's okay with her. And she's like, I don't really have a choice, but I like you better than any of the other idiots who I've met, so done. And they live happily ever after. Now, in some stories, there's an enchantment that pulls the princesses underground, like some sort of evil dancing bargain, which is fascinating, that's cursing them, or evil spirits are trying to use them to pull themselves out to the world, or there's some sort of evil stuff happening, and so he actually breaks the curse and frees the princesses. So there's a variety of different interpretations for that. And in some stories, the father's overprotective, and he locks up his daughters, and he's like, no life for you, so they figure out a way to break out. There's a variety of ways the story can go. It's also one that does not have many movies, but has a lot of book adaptations. So if you're interested, check it out. All right, that is The 12 Dancing Princesses. Cav out.